Have you ever stared at a practice AP Bio test, seen your results, and just thought, okay, what does this number even mean? If you've been there, you are definitely not alone. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and demystify the whole process, turning that confusion into straight-up confidence.
Right? It seems kind of crazy. How does this pile of multiple-choice questions and long-winded essays get crunched down into one single digit? Well, believe it or not, there's a pretty straightforward formula behind it all. And once you understand it, you can actually use it to your advantage.
So here's our game plan. We'll start by breaking the exam into its two halves. Then, we'll see how each of those halves is scored. After that, we'll get into the formula that puts it all together, and finally, we'll figure out what that final number means for you on your path to getting a 5.
All right, first things first, let's look at the basic architecture of the AP Biology exam.
The most important thing to get right away is that this test is perfectly balanced. Think of it like a scale. The multiple choice questions on one side, the free response questions on the other. Each one accounts for exactly 50% of your final score.
Now here's where it gets interesting. You get 90 minutes for each section. That's equal. But look at the number of questions. You've got 60 multiple choice questions versus just 6 free response questions. That should be a huge light bulb moment. It tells you that not all points on this test are created equal, not by a long shot.
Okay, so we've got the structure down. Now let's dig into how you actually rack up points in these two very different parts of the test.
The multiple choice section, the MCQ, is super simple. You get 1 point for every question you get right. That's it. And here's the crucial part. There is no penalty for getting an answer wrong. None. Your raw score is just the number of correct answers, plain and simple.
And that leads us to the single most important strategy for this section, and maybe for the whole test. You have to answer every single question. Never, ever leave a bubble blank. A guess, even a wild one, gives you a chance at a point. Leaving it blank gives you a 0, guaranteed.
Now, let's talk about the other beast, the free response, or FRQ section. This part is a little more complex. You've got 6 questions in total, 2 long ones, worth up to 9 points each, where you'll be digging into experimental data. And then 4 shorter questions, worth 4 points each, that test things like analyzing models and data.
So, let's do some quick math. You've got 2 9-point questions, that's 18, and 4 4-point questions, that's 16. Add them up, and you get a grand total of 34 possible raw points in the entire FRQ section. Remember that number, 34. It is the key to everything that comes next.
Okay, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. This is where we take the points from the bubbles and the points from the essays and merge them into one single, all-powerful composite score. Now listen up, because this is a game-changing insight. Every single point you earn on an FRQ is worth more than a point you earn on an MCQ. So why is that? Well, remember, both sections are worth 50% of your grade, but you only have 34 chances to earn points in the FRQ section compared to 60 chances in the MCQ. So each of those 34 points has to carry more weight to make up that 50%.
So here it is, the secret formula in 4 easy steps. First, you take your MCQ raw score. Then, you take your FRQ raw score. Step 3 is the magic part. You scale up your FRQ score. You just divide your score by 34, then multiply by 60. This puts it on the same scale as the MCQ score. Finally, add those 2 numbers together for your composite score, which will be out of 120.
Let's make this real. Say you nailed it and got 45 out of 60 on the multiple choice. Awesome, your score is 45. Now, for the free response, you earned a solid 25 out of 34 points. So we do the math. 25 divided by 34 times 60 gives you a scaled score of 44.1. Add that to your 45, and boom, your composite score is 89. See? Not so scary.
All right, so you've got this number, this composite score. In our example, it was 89. But what on earth does that mean? Let's translate that into the 1 to 5 score that you actually care about.
So, the College Board takes your composite score and converts it into one of these 5 numbers. A 5 basically means you ace the equivalent college course. A 4 is like a B, a 3 is a C. And that 3 is usually the magic number for getting college credit.
And here's some really good news. To get that passing score of a 3, you typically need a composite score of only about 60 out of 120. Think about that for a second. That's around 50%. You absolutely do not need to be perfect to pass this exam and earn college credit. So what's the game plan? How do we use this knowledge? First, you got to give both sections equal love in your prep.
But since every FRQ point is a powerhouse, you really want to focus on squeezing every last point out of that section. Manage your time and, I'll say it again, answer every single multiple choice question.
And there you have it. The code has been cracked. You now know exactly how your AP Biology score is calculated. So the real question is, how are you going to use this knowledge? Looking at your own strengths and weaknesses, which part of the test, the MCQ or the FRQ, is going to be your key to unlocking that target score? Thanks for tuning in.